Hi guys, welcome back to Needspire. This is Dr. Farkhanda Sophie, your guide and your mentor for your board and NEET exams. If you're new here, welcome to the clan and do consider subscribing to my channel. Or if you already watch my videos, thank you so much for the support. So our today's topic will be mechanism of urine concentration, in which we'll talk about the counter current mechanism, which is one of the most requested and one of the most difficult to understand topics in biology. But trust me, after watching the video, this will all be worth it. Without further ado, let's get started with mechanism of urine concentration. Now, as I told you in my last video, the mechanism of formation of urine involves 3 basic steps, and we have discussed all those steps in that video. So after completion of all those steps, what we get is a very dilute filtrate which needs to be concentrated enough in order to form the urine. Okay, so for that we have a mechanism in the kidneys which is known as counter current mechanism. So what is this counter current mechanism? It is a system in which the inflow runs parallel, counter to, and in close proximity to the outflow. Okay, so look here. As we have discussed in the previous video, this is the descending limb of loop of Henle and this is the ascending limb of loop of Henle. Okay, so the inflow, this is the direction of the filtrate. The inflow runs close to, parallel to, and opposite to the outflow, right? This is the one component of counter current mechanism. The another component is the Vasa recta. Vasa recta is nothing. This Vasa recta is nothing but it is one of these peritubular capillaries, okay, capillaries surrounding the tubules. So it is named as Vasa recta, and again in the Vasa recta the direction of blood is opposite, parallel, and they lie in a very close proximity. This also forms a counter current. Now there are 2 components of this counter current mechanism. First one is the counter current multiplier and another is the counter current exchange. We'll talk about it. You just have to remember, in the counter current multiplier, there is the loop of Henle. You know that it's ascending as well as descending limb and the collecting duct. So these act as counter current multipliers, whereas the Vasa recta acts as counter current exchanger. Okay. So what is the principle of this counter current mechanism? See, the principle is that in the kidneys, the osmolarity of the interstitium of the medulla is very high. See, this is the cortex and this is the medulla, and this is the outer medulla, this is the inner medulla, and this here is the interstitium of the medulla. So the interstitium of the medulla has very high osmolarity, okay, almost equal to 1200. See, almost equal to 1200 milliosmoles per liter. Okay, what does this mean? What does the high osmolarity mean? It means that the solutes, that is the salts, will be high and the water content will be low, right? So this high osmolarity of medullary interstitium helps in drawing of water, because you know water travels from high concentration to low concentration. So when there is low concentration of water in this space, water travels from the tubules into this interstitium, and that is how the urine is concentrated and the water is drawn in, right? So this is the principle. So the principle is that the osmolarity of medullary interstitium remains high, that is equal to 1200 milliosmoles per liter, and that is why water is drawn out from the tubules, okay, and the urine gets concentrated. So this is the principle. Now let's study the mechanism of the counter current. See, first of all, filtrate is formed here in the glomerulus, okay. Then this is the PCT, proximal convoluted tubule, where I told you in the last video. If you have not checked it out, I'll put the link in the description box. First you need to see that video, then only you can understand this one. So you know from the PCT most of the solutes are reabsorbed. So here the osmolarity of the urine, the osmolarity of the filtrate is less, very less. It is about 300. So while going down through the descending limb of loop of Henle, the descending limb, I told you, is permeable to water only, not solutes, okay. So a lot of water is being drawn out of this descending limb and the filtrate is getting concentrated from 400 to 600 to 800 to 1000 and to 1200. Now you know that the ascending limb of loop of Henle is permeable to solutes, not water. So the solutes start moving out. That is NaCl. You can see here, okay, this NaCl. Also remember that in the thick ascending limb, this thick part, there is a channel which is named as sodium potassium 2 chloride transporter. Okay, this channel works. This is the active transport. Okay, causes active transport of NaCl and potassium out. So this is how the medulla is getting concentrated, right? NaCl is coming out and there's a lot of salt here, and this is hypertonic. Okay, so that is why the osmolarity of the filtrate again starts decreasing to almost 300, and then in the DCT to 200. Okay, so now the osmolarity has again decreased. Now this is how the countercurrent multiplier works. More and more of filtrate is coming through this descending limb, going here, and salt is being extracted from this. Again solute comes here, and salt is being extracted. So this is generating a hyperosmolar interstitium, right? So this is the countercurrent multiplier. The ascending limb, the descending limb, and the loop of Henle along with the collecting duct. The function of the collecting duct I'll tell you in a while. So all of this constitutes the countercurrent multiplier. Now what is the role of the countercurrent exchange? Look, because this salt is being extracted from the filtrate, it can easily be washed out with this blood that is present in the Vasa recta. Okay, but see what happens. Always remember that the blood flow in the kidneys is very slow. Okay, now the slow blood flow in the medulla prevents the washout of these solutes. What happens is the descending limb of the Vasa recta absorbs the NaCl that was here. Okay, it absorbs all of it, and in turn the ascending limb throws it back, so the interstitium stays hyperosmotic. Okay, so what is the significance of this? The significance of the system is that the principle has to be maintained. That is, the medullary interstitium has to remain hyperosmotic. And how is that being maintained? That is being maintained by the Vasa recta. That is being generated by the countercurrent multiplier, that is the loop of Henle and the ascending and the descending limbs. But that is being maintained by the Vasa recta. How? The sodium chloride that was extracted here goes into this descending limb and it throws out water. But in the ascending limb, this sodium chloride is again thrown out and the water is taken in. So the osmolarity of this interstitium remains high. Okay, so this is the countercurrent mechanism. Now in the collecting duct, how much water is to be reabsorbed is decided by the dehydration state of our body. In the state of dehydration, look, in a state of dehydration, a hormone releases which is known as ADH, Anti-Diuretic Hormone. Okay, and what does this hormone do? It plants some channels on this collecting duct which are known as aquaporins, and through these aquaporins water is reabsorbed and the dehydration status of the individual improves. Okay, less water goes with the urine. Now the vice versa happens when a person is in a state of adequate hydration. When there is adequate hydration, ADH will be less. When there is adequate hydration, there will be less ADH, less aquaporins, less water reabsorption, more water will go out with the urine, and thus the hydration state of the person is maintained. So the urine can be concentrated to dilute depending on the hydration state of the person, right? So this is the countercurrent mechanism. This is the mechanism of concentration of the urine. This is very important. So let's sum it all up for your better understanding. The osmolarity of the filtrate in PCT is 300. While going down the descending limb of the loop of Henle, water goes out and the osmolarity starts increasing to almost 1200. And in the ascending limb of loop of Henle, the solutes come out and the osmolarity again starts decreasing. While reaching the DCT, the osmolarity is approximately equal to 200, but the collecting duct decides the reabsorption of the water. In a state of adequate hydration, ADH is less and there are less aquaporins and less water is reabsorbed and there is dilute urine, whereas in a state of dehydration, more ADH is present and more aquaporins are generated, which will help in the reabsorption of water, and a concentrated solute and a concentrated urine is formed. What is the role of Vasa recta, you know that the NaCl that was being thrown out from the ascending limb here is being absorbed by the descending limb of the Vasa recta, and it is thrown out by the ascending limb so as to maintain the hyperosmolar interstitium, right? So this is the crux of the countercurrent mechanism. I hope it's very, very clear to you. This brings us towards the end of today's video. If you want me to make videos on some specific topics, please write them down in the comment section. I'll be glad to help you out. I'll see you within another video. Till then, keep studying. Goodbye.